So this is the first for me. I'm actually cold, so I don't chill. Anybody else? A little cold in here? Gotta get the movement of the spirit going, right? Well, of course I changed the topic again today. You just can't trust me, and I don't know how anybody could work with me. I will talk about dying to be me at some point. I think I will do it next week, because I promised Claudia. I have to tell Claudia ahead of time what the theme is and everything, so you can hold it to me. But you never know what's going to happen. And earlier this week, we had this really lively discussion in our Unity Disciple group meeting, and I got inspired to just want to change directions and talk about the topic today of, what did I call it? What Jesus teaches about religion. Is that what I called it? Yeah, what Jesus taught about religion teaches. See, I still see that living presence. And the discussion, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but what's happening down at Unity Institute, where we train our Unity ministers and licensed Unity teachers, there's a movement, a shift changing and looking at the language we use, wanting to go from more traditional to more universal languaging, so instead of maybe saying God, saying divine, and certainly being aware and awake to how we use that language. Where do we put images such as God and Jesus in our language, in our prayers, in our affirmations? Is it encouraging that sense of separation, or are we using our language in such a way that we understand better the concept that God is within, that God is you and God is me? And so I think that that's great. I think that's good, and it certainly isn't brand new. When I was in seminary 11 years ago, we had instructors and teachers who came in and talked about these concepts, but they're now becoming more mainstream in the curriculum. So it certainly got me thinking again about my relationship with these terms and my relationship with Jesus the Christ. And so I wanted to, as I was thinking about it, I thought about, well, what did he teach us about religion? And I know right away some of you have a reaction to that word religion, but I promise I'm going to give you hopefully a more comfortable definition of it a little bit later on in this talk. But one of the reasons I resonate so strongly with Jesus, and he's such a major figure in my life, is that he really was radical in his teaching. He came and shook up the folks of his day, and I think if you really study him today, he's still doing the same thing in his teachings about what is religion, what is spirituality, what is this we're talking about as far as the relationship of God and ourselves. And probably the one place that he really lays out his teachings on religion, you're going to find it in the Gospel of Matthew, in chapter 23. And so I'm going to spend some time with you on those teachings this morning. Are you interested in knowing what he had to say about religion?
Yes, I am.
One of the first things that he does in this chapter is to denounce formalism, to denounce really the practices and the attitudes of his day. Right there in verse 1 to 3, it states, "Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples," I have this right, "The scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. Therefore, do whatever they teach you and follow it. But do not do as they do, for they do not practice what they teach." So in other words, if I'm going to follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, or for Jesus, who was he talking about? Who did he follow? What teachings did he follow? Moses. He said, so if you're going to sit there and listen to the teachings of Moses, yes, follow those ways, but don't do as the ones that are teaching you, because they're not doing it. They're not practicing it in their lives. I have to be willing to practice what I teach and also what I receive. You may not yet be seeing yourself as a teacher, though we all are. Even as a student, we have to make that commitment to go forth and live it. I can't just come to church or go to divinity school to learn the language and the right things to say, right? I have to strive to practice these teachings. And what does that mean? You know, one of those teachings is to know that when I go home today from this place that I'm not alone. That there's a power working with me and in me, to use the correct language, that will help me in every situation of my life. But do I believe that? Do you believe that? Back to Matthew chapter 23, verse 4. They tie up heavy burdens, hard to bear, and lay them on the shoulders of others. But they themselves are unwilling to lift a finger to move them. So he's talking about the teachers of the day, the religious teachers of the day. Did you get that? You know, I'm sure you wouldn't like it very much if as a minister I stood up here week after week telling you how negative you are. That you'll never be able to redeem yourself, that you will never be able to come in contact with God. Would you like that very much?
No.
No. I don't think the congregation would last very long in unity. You know, instead it's my job, if I'm going to come up into this position, to build up faith, right? I'm here to tell you of all the possibilities for you as a spiritual being. I'm here to tell you that you're more than human, that you're more than flesh and blood. And you hear me say that all the time, right? You're a spiritual being having a human experience. I did a graveside service yesterday with a whole group of people that aren't Unity people, and I said that to them. Even though we're spiritual beings having a human experience, we still want to know the meaning of death. And I took a little risk with that, right?
Yes.
But, you know, I don't know who worded it or didn't, but I tell it to you all the time, don't I? You're more than flesh and blood. I'm here to tell you that no matter what you faced in your life, you can overcome it. You're not locked in the past. Today is a new day. And I can tell you all these things because I believe that God is with you and in you. I'm choosing to use both languaging. Are you noticing? Because God is everything, everywhere present, beyond our ability to describe. So do you think perhaps God might be bigger than me? God is with you and in you. And with God, you and I can be led beside those still waters that were promised in Psalm 23. To be led beside the still waters. That still waters within where lies our calmness, our serenity, our peace. We can have the assuredness of faith that will sustain us in all ways. But we must have that humbleness of spirit. That's what Jesus is getting to here, folks. He is talking to the teachers of his day, the scribes and the Pharisees, and as he calls them, the hypocrites. You'll see in a minute. You have to have humbleness of spirit. To know that it's the Christ within me that does the work. Matthew chapter 23, verses 5 through 7. Jesus goes on to say, they do all their deeds to be seen by others. For they make their robes broad and their fringes long. They love to have the place of honor at banquets and the best seats in the synagogues, and to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces, and to have people call them rabbi. Humbleness of spirit, folks. You know, I have to restrain my ego from thinking I am the Almighty. And all others should acknowledge that and bow down before me. It's a slippery slope. For spiritual leaders and, yes, Unity True students. Breathe. You know, Jesus is trying to teach us here that true religion is about surrendering the ego. And the ego so easily gets enticed by messages of, you are God. Yes, you are God. All that you are is God. But it's like a drop in the ocean. You know, the ocean is God, and I'm a drop in the ocean. Does that make sense? And you know, we had the discussion in class, you know, if you really go to these heavy-duty lectures